Austin's just putting in the last piece for the ceiling, and then we're gonna start probably on the butt wall and have to cut in their electrical boxes, and then they'll go through the whole house.
Why start on the ceiling first? Why'd you guys do that first versus
so that
the wall?
way you can slide the walls up against the ceiling. It makes a nice cut, 90 degree angle. Oh my God, don't put that.
Okay, you want to go ahead and tell me again?
Yeah.
So
So the walls go up to make a good, nice, clean 90 degree angle with the ceiling.
And that's why the ceiling goes first.
Yes.
Very cool. What are you seeing this time around with everything that you guys have experienced? Comparison to ceiling and walls, drywall last time versus this time. Anything different?
It's much smoother. We know more of what we're doing. The cuts are so much smoother. With the ceiling here on these lights, we used a special tool to be able to cut out the holes for the lights, and it was just a much cleaner cut. And they're going up a lot smoother as well, which is, it's so much easier. And then we also were able to do some little tricks that Austin watched YouTube. Really smart idea. So he put on some 2x4s, put a 2x4 near the ceiling, so that way it would hold our drywall. So it was great. It was great.
Let's go ahead and check out some other houses, right?
Yes, we're going to house 2, and we're gonna see what house 2 is up to. Hey guys, what are you guys doing?
Drywall.
So we're just coming to check on all the houses and see how you guys are doing.
Doing pretty good. Yeah, I'm doing a little round thing. Go unwrap those.
All right, so Lisa, what are they doing here?
So all of our second set of drywall is underneath this tarp. So they're gonna have to remove all of this, and it's been keeping it dry because of the moisture. We had some rain, so we just want to make sure it doesn't get wet, or else it would get ruined. So they're pulling some drywall so that they can start doing more of their walls. Muscles, boys, muscles. It's very fragile. If you bump it a little too hard, or if you drop it a little too hard, it can crack the edges, and then you can't really use it as well. So this one's a nice sheet. It's not, other than this right here is a little bit damaged, but that's all right. They can mud this and clean this out and you won't even know it's there. All right, we are now on to house 3. So this is house 3. They have cut out their, this is their mini split. So they cut out the mini split and access for to connect the wires for the mini split. They got their electrical box cut out, and they're just moving their way on down to where the kitchen is, and they'll move right around. So it's looking really good. We've learned a lot since the first house. They are now using the oscillating tool instead of the keyhole saw, which works a lot better, a lot smoother cuts, and it's not so jagged and messed up. We also have gotten really good with our measurements, and so we don't have as many mistakes. I'll come back and I'll help them screw in on the 2x4s, so that way they can do their cuts and they can put up the drywall, and then I can help them out with just doing the screws to make sure that everything is on 6-inch All the screws have to be on 6-inch on the edges, and then through the field, which is through the middle of the drywall, on the 2x4s, they're at 8 inches. We're going on to house 4. We're gonna see how Isabel and Dylan are doing. She's doing a little cleanup before they start on their walls.
Also, we know to remember to push the drywall up so that the gap is on the floor instead of the ceiling.
Why does the gap have to be on the floor? Is it just easier to deal with?
Yeah, it's easier to deal with when we're mudding and taping. We don't have to put so much mud in between to make up for the gap. And then since there's gonna be flooring and baseboards, that'll cover it up on the bottom.
So there's fitting the drywall up against the wall to see how it's gonna fit. And then they gotta also make sure that they know where all of the fittings are for the electrical boxes so that they could cut those out and also cut out a portion of the window area. They already cut out the one electrical box that's there, and they will end up cutting out the window portion. But the blocks are for the cabinets, so that's to be able to screw in the cabinets when we install cabinets. We have to have blocking, so that way the blocking, it holds the cabinets up. So if we didn't put blocking in the spaces between our 16-inch studs, the cabinets wouldn't be able to just stay up with drywall. So they're just trying to lift up the drywall to where it's flush with the ceiling, and there's a minimal crack, so the crack or the gap will be down on the bottom rather than at the top, because you want to make sure that your corners and where your ceiling meets the wall is at a 90-degree angle and there's no gap up at the top. You want to make sure that you want to put your screws all the way in, because you don't want screws popping out. If they pop out, you'll see that through the texture, and you'll see a little bump in the wall. Especially on the ceiling, if they pop out on the ceiling, when the structure moves or in settling and wind or any kind of weather conditions, the structure can move back and forth and will pop these screws out. So you want to be careful to make sure that you put them all the way in. Now we're on our way to house 5. We'll see what they're up to. If only I had my little red jacket, we would be like Mr. Rogers. So Junior and Josh are putting up their drywall. They're pretty much done with the entire wall here. So they're cutting their, probably cutting their drywall. Yeah, so here we're just looking at how they came together with their drywall. Their drywall is butted up next to the other piece, so there's no hole here. So that way they don't have to fill in the hole with a lot of texture. It's nice and clean, and that way you won't see that when after you texture and then you paint. All of that needs to be filled in. After they get done with the drywall, they'll either use paper tape, which is what goes over the seam, or they'll use mesh tape, and then they'll texture all the seams. So that way it's a nice clean finish. So in this section right here, they'll have to fill in the areas where there's some little holes, just so they make sure that they have a nice clean 90-degree angle for the seam from the ceiling to where it meets the wall.
Yeah, check out the measurements for the lights. That one was the only one we had to really fit in, but the other ones were perfect. Yeah, because we had it.
Austin!
Gotta speak the truth.
Everything's coming together really nicely. It looks as though everybody has it under control. I am not needed too much right now, so I'll go back through the houses and see what ones need assistance with the screwing in of the drywall, and then I'll just make my way through. But everybody's coming along nicely.